About the Publications app. So Publications app allows you to post and manage your publications in a structured way. So we can see this example here. It's a listing of publications. So you can enable the Publications app. There's lots of different apps on OpenScholar. There are technically 15 of them. And we'll go through and actually turn on, or I'll show you the area where you can go and turn on the Publications app. So I'm just going to close up the screen, open up my website, and we will head over to our control panel here on the left-hand side, open up Settings, and then go down to Enable and Disable Apps. And here you're going to find the screen where it shows us all of our apps available. So it's alphabetical. So we can see that there's the publications here. And if yours is turned off, it's going to say disabled. And we want to turn it on to make it public. Now, private is an option, but private isn't what you might think it is. Private makes it private to the people who are members of your site. So kind of co-editors. So the site owners and the site admins, the content editors, and the basic members. So you would be able to privately work on publications if you needed to. There's not a big use case for it. Usually it's on or off. Okay? So that's where you go and do that. And there are many settings associated with the Publications app. So if we're here out on the control panel and we see Enable Disable Apps, right underneath is App Settings. So if the app that you have turned on to public has additional settings, it's listed here. So we want to go down to Publications, and we're going to view the many different options that you have. So I won't hop back to the screen, or the presentation, I'll just skip through them and just hit them all here. But first you want to select your preferred bibliographic format. So you can see as I hover over each item, it's going to show me how different items will appear. So book chapter example, journal article example, book with 10+ authors, etc. And as you hover over each one of these, it shows you what the citation will look like. Many people will say, but I just want to make it look different. These are coming off of official citation sites. We follow the letter of the law. We don't have creativity around create your own citation. So we have what we have here in this list based on the needs. Next, we've got the ability for you to sort publication by category. So you see you can sort by author, which alphabetizes them by someone's name. You can do by title, but type and year are the most popular. So by type it means like journal article or book chapter, miscellaneous newspaper article, or the ever popular year. So it would go to forthcoming, in preparation, I think, and then 2017, 2016, 2015, and so on. And then basically you can choose ascending or descending. Next, we've got the ability for you to be able to allow people to export, pull down content from your site right here. And then next, you can have any kind of publication. We've got 38 types of publication types available. But let's say you have somebody that has a lot of random publications, but they might just want their book chapters and their books and their journal articles to show up underneath publications. Well, you can toggle off the ones you want. They're always toggled on, and most likely you just won't ever use them. But here you could control them if you wanted to. And if you make any changes, you can always reset the defaults. Now ignore this here, this little item, save to personal. I've got super admin access, so I've got an extra button where you might not have one. So these are the publication settings. And back at our presentation, I'll just buzz through what we just went over. Great. we also have the ability to distribute to repositories. So this is a way for you to increase the audience and distribution of your scholarly works. OpenScholar offers an easy way to distribute publications to several academic repositories. But this is only available for those of you who have sites on scholar.harvard.edu. So in my example here, I am not on a Scholar site, so I don't have this option. But if I hop over to my, oops, I don't want to do that, hold on, my Scholar site, I'm going to see something different. It's going to have the ability for me to distribute to repositories. So this is just like promotion for your articles or your publications. So an example of how we mix and match sort of a project site or a scholar site together, we can look at the economics department. And we've got somebody from economics asking a question. Yes?
So on that last screen, the different repositories,
I don't think so. I think you just can set it because we've got what I'm hearing, and Joe knew more about this, but again, he couldn't make it. It should allow for you to just, especially Google Scholar. I mean, that's a definite yes. I'm gonna go with a yes for all three. I feel like I would know about that, but it will just allow them to promote your work. I don't think you need to have an account. Do you know about this, Michael? Mm-hmm. So if you do set up an account in those places, maybe you could have an account to see your works, but if your work was already brought in there, there just wouldn't be a place where you could sort of see a grouping of your own stuff. So that's a good thing to know, that you can share anytime, but if you wanted to have an area where you could aggregate it, you would then have to have an account. Now, we're going to talk about importing later, and I think that you might need accounts at some of these other places, but we can talk about that in a second. But let's talk about this idea of mixing a regular department site with scholarly sites. So this is the economic site, and they have their people listed under their people area. And so if I go to faculty, we're going to see that we're still on the economics website, and this is not a scholarly site, but each one of these posts, so these individual people that are listed here in this list, if I were to click on Alberto here, you can see that I'm being redirected to his personal scholar site. Right, so then he see a listing of his publications right here, and all of these are feeding into appropriate places. So for those of you who had a question of like, how do I mix and match? I have a regular department site, and then I have all these people that want their own sites. This is a way you could potentially do it. Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about the repository. So we know as a global setting, you can set it to distribute to the repositories, but actually on the individual post itself, so we're looking here, our example here is of a book chapter where we are creating a publication, and on the settings, and when we do this in a minute, we'll show you, on the settings, you'll be able to say, I want this individual one, like if you didn't want all of them, globally, you know, every single publication ever put on your site to be sent over to Dash, you just wanted to pick and choose, you could do that when you create that individual publication itself. Does that make sense? Maybe? Okay. But so Dash is a Harvard digital access to scholarship at Harvard repository. It gives you persistent URLs for publications, which is great. Author and search tools. You can access statistics. The search engines will search the site. And then you have the ability on Dash actually to add full text for various publications, which is amazing because normally you have sort of requirements that you can't actually provide all of the text. So that's Dash. Then we got Google Scholar. It's a citation repository through Google for scholarly works and legal documents. You have personal settings and alerts that you can set up. You can do author and search tools with complex publication information, statistics again, and then searchability from search engines, which is great. And then lastly, and then Google Scholar a little bit more, how this happens with Google Scholar is that there are several ways that you could submit publications to Google Scholar. But OpenScholar adds meta tags in the page source, which you see the meta tags here on the bottom right-hand corner, so you don't have to do your own promotion. If you were to just say, I want Google to pick it up, we add all this metadata, so it will just grab it for you. There's no work on your end. All right, and then there's RePec, Research Papers in Economics. It's a digital repository focusing on research in economics and related sciences. Again, it has an advanced searching tool. It's got a lot of different publication formats. There's email subscription options, and then you can access statistics as well. And so for this, it is for economics. So you might not, if you're not publishing economics-related things, you wouldn't use this as an option. All right, questions about that? Yes?
So you're saying that Google, the scholar, since I went to the scholar page, it picks up this information and sends it to RePec or sends it to Dash, and then it automatically gets uploaded into their system in the right way.
That's right. So the question was, I'm just going to repeat the question for the video, is once you check off which repository you want it to go into, it kind of happens automatically without any work from you, and that's yes, absolutely. So with Google Scholar, it'll automatically add meta tags into your website itself, so it can, or your citation on the website, and so then Google Scholar will know to come and grab. And the same thing goes for RePec and Dash. They will be alerted, being sent to, and then they'll pick it up. And I think it was
So what you're saying then is Google Scholar doesn't embed that current paper. It just creates a link to what's on the professor's website.
no, I think what it's doing is it's saying we are adding tags to the publication, and then they know to come and grab the info. I don't think it adds a link back to it. It allows it to come. If we go and we look at some of the metadata, title, publisher name, book chapter, it automatically takes the fields available that are given to you, and it's grabbing what it needs to grab. I do think it will provide a link back to its originating source.
Let me tell you why I'm asking you. So the professor comes up with a newspaper, you post it, it posts, go up to Google and you have 6 months later, you have a new version. When they post that new version, what I want to know is when that got posted to Google Scholar 6 months ago, did Google Scholar embed that paper in Google's website, or is it going to continue to do that? Page so it doesn't update it.
So the question is, if there's an update to a current post, publication entry or post on OpenScholar, will Google Scholar continue to index the OpenScholar site for further information? I'm going to go with, I don't 100% know, I can definitely find out for you, but how Google works and how search engines works is that they're constantly, we're all updating our websites all the time, and the kind of rule of thumb, search engine will find it between 3 days and 3 weeks, right? So the question is, it's almost like how, not if, I think. So I don't know the how, like how it does it, how it knows. But I do believe it will always update because it's just content on your website, and it will keep feeding into the repository. And so you would think that it will know once it gets changed, like if I were to change the title, or I change something related to it, this is just some of the source code, it would go back and update it, but I can find out for sure. I can't speculate anymore, but I'm going to go with the way that Google works and naturally a search engine works. I believe it would, but I'll find out. I will definitely find out. Okay, so creating a publication. So we know that there's all kinds of great settings. You have to turn on the Publications app to use it, and then you have to change the settings around. But you can always change the settings no matter what stage of your website build you're part of. So creating a publication. So if I were to, and I'm not going to use a Scholar website to add content just because they already had content in this site. But I can definitely open up, let me just click around here, the differences between them. So here I am on a Scholar website. This is my test website on the Scholar install, and I want to add a publication. So I'm going to Site Content, down, and adding publications. So that's option 1. Option 2 could also be for me to go to the site itself and find the page where the publications live, which I'll do that in a second. But so here I'm going to go to Publication, and my publication form is going to come up. And you'll see that it's got all the great fields, which I'll go over in a second. But we've got an area here on Scholar to distribute to academic repositories. So this is where you would do the individual, I want this publication to go here, versus doing it at the site settings level. Okay? So I'm going to go over to the site I'm actually going to use today. And I'm going to go to the actual publications page. It has already been turned on. I have put some content in it. And here, I've got the green Add New button, and I can go ahead and select publication. And from here, we're going to get a form that gets presented to us, and we are going to see all the different fields. So the first is the drop-down where you can choose one of the 38 options. So I'm going to choose journal article. I actually have pulled up an article I'm going to add. I'm going to copy and paste this content over just to show you. Normally you wouldn't do copy and paste because there's a lot of tags that can be, HTML tags that can be brought over. It's better to hand type it or remove the formatting before you bring it over. But I won't do that today just because of time. So I'm checking out the date over here. It's going to be 2017. And I'm just going to put in a couple of these details just to show you. It's the American Journal of Archaeology. So lots of great things in here. You can add the author. There's an area for volume, issue, pages, etc. Now, based on what you select from your type of publication, you're going to get different fields because a book won't have maybe it won't have an issue, right? They'll have pages, but it might not have some of the other options. So it will change. If I were to toggle this to something else, the fields would change. So you can add an abstract. An abstract is cool, so I'm going to add maybe a couple sentences from this area to be the abstract, and I can show you the abstract functionality in a second. And you can upload a file if you wanted to. And then there is this ability to have publication details. A lot of people don't see this. So publication details, you open it up, and you can add the full text. You can add any notes. You can add a publication image. And there's extra fields where you can sort of create your own categorization system. So I'm going to press save. And once I press save, you're going to see that it gets added to, or first it takes us to the post itself. So here we are on the post page. This is the individual post itself. And if I go back one level following the breadcrumb, so this little trail at the top is called a breadcrumb, go to publications. you're going to see it's going to take me to the listing, the list view of all this, which is great. I want to make sure I'm following my slides. You can also import publications. So you don't have to hand do all of them, right? You don't have to enter them all at once. You can import. So you have to enable the publication app. You can go to the control panel. We'll do this in a second. Click on the import and select publications. Then you can upload files given in the file formats only. There are certain file formats that you can select, and then you can import from an area. So let's do that. So I go over here, the control panel, and close down all this stuff and just go to Site Contents up the top. I'm going to go to Import, and you'll see I've got publication here. And I can choose to import a file, and then I select the file type. Okay. Oh, you do? How do you like it? Dodgy? Okay, good. There's a PubMed problem fixed. Good. So. So if you could go, so you would have to go back to app settings. The question was, she imports everything, so she does the import, and the question is, well, am I now feeding into Dash and the other repos? Well, you'd have to go back to settings to sort of see where your publications, if they're already on, maybe you already did it, and then again, you could go one by one if you wanted to select certain ones. So I would definitely check it out. All right, so importing sounds like it's working and it's easy if you can do it. So let's talk a little bit about this idea of the app, the publications app page view. So we've done presentations on this before. Let me just get back to our area for publications, where certain app content displays in what we call the list view. So this is a listing, so publication is technically a list view, and it's showing the citations in a list. And we know from the settings that we're able to select what type of sort order or display order that we have here, right? So we opted to display by year. And when I was just filling out this happily ever after publication here, I filled out the abstract field, and you'll see that if I select this abstract, it kind of goes up and down and gives you a little, your site visitor the ability to see just a little bit. But then to get to the actual posting, you select the title, and it'll take you where you can see even more content. All those fields that I sort of blew past because of time, they would be here. Your citation would exist on the first page, what's called the list view page. So it's really clean and nice for your site visitors. Does that make sense? So many different apps that run on the list view, FAQs, profiles, people profiles, links, presentations, lots of them do. Any questions about the list view? Okay. Well, there's some publications widgets. So there are 4 widgets that come with the publications app. Publication by author, publication by year, publications by type, and recent publications. So the recent publications widget is sort of an interesting one. It's auto-generated, and its base is the list of post widget. So it's pre-configured to show you recent publications, and it gets added to your publications app page once you start adding publications. But you have the option to remove it. So again, I'm going to go here, and I'll go back to the actual list view. You will see I've got my listing of publications, but then here over on the side, I've got this recent publications. And the minute I started to add, I added 1, and this widget got created for me, which is great. So it's it's doing something for me. And if I go to the widget itself and check it out, go to Edit Widget, we're going to see that, again, like I said, it's a list of post widgets that's been pre-configured. And if we check it out, I'll just zoom in a little bit, you'll see that it's pulling in publications. It's opting to display the title because, you know, it's on the sidebar, so it wants to save space. But you could opt to change display, change how it's sorted. So it will go kind of on its own. It won't follow the list views sort. It'll follow its own sort. You can even opt to say which publication types you want to show in it. And you can opt to say, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do, but you can opt to say, I just want to show 5 of them, right? How many recents do you really have? It's set to 20, but you can change that. So that's a great feature that sort of comes along with it. But you could remove it if you wanted to. So if I were to remove it, so I go remove widget, it would just get removed. Easy. And if I wanted to get it back, it didn't get deleted from the system, it just got removed from the layout. So if I wanted to get it back, I could go to the layout by clicking on the configuration gear and selecting layout. And as I think a lot of us know, this gallery here is called the unused widget gallery. I should be able to find it again. It's sitting in here someplace. And I can just bring it in. But there are other widgets that you can use as well. And so those are the other 3 on that list. And those 3 are listed underneath the Add New Widget area. So we've got publications by type, publications by year, and publications by author. So if I wanted to create one of these publications by year, let's say, I could select it, and you'll see that it's allowing me to give it a name. So the description, again, is for me to see in the unused widget gallery. So I'd say maybe pubs by year, so I can abbreviate it because nobody's going to see it. But the widget title is going to display to your site visitors. So I would spell it out. And it asked me if I want to display the number of terms in the category. Sure, that's fine. And as I create this widget, it goes to the top left, as they always do. Widgets always go to the top left because it wants you to be able to find it. So you can click, hold, drag, and drop it into place. And I can go ahead and save it. It's going to take me back out to my publications page where it's going to show me one of these widgets. So again, there's 4 available. Questions about that? So again, this last one, recent publications, that just happens automatically for you. You can opt to remove it, bring it back in. Yes? Absolutely. So it would be right here. So I have to bring it into the layout. So if I go back to the layout of my publications page, you'll see the publications is selected from this drop down. You see I've got my pubs by year over here. Does your layout look like this? Okay, and we can talk about it after too.
I have a question.
Yes.
So if I have somebody use it and I want to expand that publication page so that you can view more papers first and top, is there a way?
Like get rid of these?
Well, you got rid of the widget, but the space is just white, so I want to use it.
Oh, you know what? I got rid of the widget, but I didn't get rid of this widget. This add this widget. It's very small. We're not seeing it. So yeah. So watch me. I'll get rid of both of them.
Yeah.
I'll press save, and it will now go fill it out. Yeah. And we're going to talk in a minute about how more creatively, because this publications area. So if I go here and go back to layout, you know, I'm not able, and I'm going to remove this because it's confusing. There's something there, but it's not really there. Ignore that. You know, if I were to pull this is the add this widget, that social media, it's not going to allow me to put it in the middle section because that's where the publications are. It'll allow me to put it on the sidebar, either sidebar, but not in the middle. And it should be grayed out, but at this stage we haven't yet figured out a way to show that you're not able to put something in the middle because people will frustratingly try to put it in this middle section, but it's not available because the app is using it to put the content in. But later we're going to talk about how to be more creative about handling that. Let's go back to the presentation and talk about applying taxonomy to publications. So we now understand that your publications automatically get categorized for you by the system, by type, by author, and by date, based on the available widgets we just reviewed. So that's great because it's like taxonomy, for those of you who understand what taxonomy is, it's like free taxonomy. You know, you don't have to do anything to create it. It's just pulling fields from the data inside each post, in each publication post, and exposing that for you. Great. But you can also create taxonomy, and taxonomy is a vocabulary with terms or quote tags that you can apply to your individual publications to present these terms to your site visitors in order for them to find specific publications. So an example is tagging publications with different topics would allow site visitors to find publications around the publication type they're interested in viewing and reading, right? So we're going to go to a live example where I'm going to apply to a taxonomy. I'm going to create a taxonomy. I'm going to apply the taxonomy to my publications. I'm going to tag the individual publications, and I'm going to present the tagged publications creatively. So hold on to your socks. Maybe for this I'll turn the lights down because I want you guys to really see this. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to create my taxonomy. So I'm going to go over to my control panel and I'm going to select taxonomy from the side. And you see I've got other taxonomies happening on this site, and that's fine, but I'm going to select to add a vocabulary. And I'm going to wait for it to pull up. Sometimes the Wi-Fi in here is not fantastic. I'm going to close my control panel because it's kind of in my way. And so the name of my taxonomy is going to be Publications by Location. And my description, I don't really need one. My content type is going to be publication. I'm going to make them required to make sure that all of my publications going forward have to have a tag, because it would be weird if half of them were tagged and half of them weren't. It would break down the whole system. And all of these defaults are fine. I'm going to do a managed list, which means I'm going to create my terms. And the select list means I'm just going to see my list of terms. We'll show that in a second. And I'll press save. So I'm creating the taxonomy vocabulary itself. And once this gets created, I'm now going to create my terms. So remember, my vocabulary is called Publications by Location. So my terms are going to be locations. So here I am. I'm going to add terms. And once this happens, it's going to take me to a term page, a create term page. And I'm going to continue to add. I'm going to add 5 different locations. So, Greece. I don't need a description. I kind of understand what that means. So I'm just going to press save. And every time I press save, the system knows I'm going to probably want to create another term. So it's just going to keep providing me with another form. My next one's going to be Bulgaria. Next one's going to be USA. Next one's going to be Peru. And the last one is going to be Israel. And I say the last one, but what's often needed is that people will find out after they've done this whole thing. They'll say, well, what if I want to see all of the publications by location? So often I put all. So they have the option to at least see every single one of them. All right, so now all of my terms have been created, and I can X out of this form because I'm done creating the terms. And I'm going to go back home. And I'm going to go back to my publications page. And we're going to see that as I hover over each one of these items, I'm able to edit each one. So I'm going to edit this publication. And I'm going to scroll to the bottom of the page, and right above the Save button is going to be my taxonomy area. And so from here, I can go ahead and, we quote tag that content with the term. So I think it's in publications details. Where is it? There it is. So this one was, I think this one was Israel. Yes, Israel. So here I am tagging it being all and Israel. So I'm just going to take 1 minute to go through every single one of them. I only have, 6 of them to tag each item. Now there is a way to bulk tag contents, but because I have one term per publication, it's not really helpful to me. So this one's Greece. So I'm going into publication details, and tagging with Greece, and then tagging with all. Pressing save, and I'm just going to keep continuing down the line. Has everybody used taxonomy, or is anyone, while I'm doing this, I can multitask and answer questions about other questions you've had about maybe displaying your publications. Michael, no questions from you today? You know everything. All right, just a couple more, and we are going to do something that most people don't quite understand how to do, which is a creative way to sort publications. So what we're going to do is we're going to move away from the publications page and sort of create a basic page and expose these terms in a different way. All right, and one more, and then we'll get to it. Okay, 2 more. Bless you. So, we're very close. And you see, this one doesn't even have, so I'm going to put this one as all, because it doesn't have a location. It's a general article. But because I made my vocabulary required, I have to tag it with something. So it's going to be all. All right. So I've tagged all this content. This is great. I technically can go ahead from my publications page itself. Once I created that taxonomy and I go to my layout, so I created that taxonomy, what happens is the system creates a taxonomy widget for me around location, or around that location and vocabulary. So you see it says filter publications by location. So I could potentially just drag in that taxonomy widget, and you see how it has a blue gear here? I can select it, And you'll see that it is a taxonomy widget, and it's designed to do a certain amount of things. When I press save, it's going to expose all of my terms. So now my site visitors can come here and say, oh, I want to read only about publications about Bulgaria. And they click on it, and it's going to take me to what we call a term page. It's only going to show me publications about Bulgaria, which is great. And this could be any term at all. But you still have that general page itself. This is not too fancy or flashy. So I'm going to show you an example of how another group did their publication. So this is the Keith group. Their theme is a little bit customized, but not a ton. So what you see here is something that you can totally do, and it would look exactly the same. So you can see they've got their publications. Some of their publications tagged by people, research areas, and all academic publications, and they've put them inside of an accordion widget. This thing is called an accordion widget. So if I open them up, you'll see that I now can see academic publications by individuals, right? Or I can see publications by research areas. Or I can see publications by all academic publications. It just takes me back. So that's just a link back. But that's great, because I was going to get to that anyway. That you'll see that if I look at the URL here, it's called Keith-group-publications. That's the name of the page. Off of the website, keith.cs.harvard.edu. But if I remove this page and just type the word publication, it's going to take me to their publications page. Hold on. There's publications. So the app doesn't go away. The original page doesn't go away. What we're doing is leveraging content from the app page, the app content type, and driving it to a basic page. So let's do that. Let's not talk about it. Let's do it. So I'm going to create a new page, maybe off of, I'll just go off my resources area. And I'm going to add a new page, and I'm going to call it, it's a subpage, I'm going to call it Publications 2. There's already the Publications main page, so I just want to call it out a little bit. And I'm just going to press save. And once it saves, we're going to be taken to a blank page. Fine. Now from here, I can go to my configuration gear. And you'll see that I have the ability to lay out this section or go to the page layout itself. I want to go to this page's layout itself. And from here, I want to put my content from my publications onto this page. But how do I do that? And I'm thinking about doing it in a tabs widget. Do we all know what a tabs widget is? So a tabs widget, I can show you really quickly on documentation. It allows you to, it's like the accordion widget, but it happens horizontally versus vertically. So this is an example of a tabs widget right here. So a tabs widget is technically or commonly referred to as a display widget. So if I open up the rules around the tabs widget, it requires us to create widgets to then place into that widget. Right? So that's what we're going to do. I'll do just 3 out of the 6 that we have. So I'm going to go to add a new widget, and the first widget I'm going to select is list of posts. And I might say all publications for my description. And the widget title could be all, I just might put all. The content type, we know this is going to be publication. The style type, let's just say it's going to be title. And you'll see that by selecting the publication, it automatically is going to provide me with my vocabulary because it knows they're connected. So here I can say all. So see how I'm selecting all and all. And I'm going to go ahead and press save. So I'm setting up what I'm going to do in a second. And you can see all publications got added here. I'm going to go back and create 2 more list of post widgets associated with different terms. So this one is going to be Peru Pups. And the widget title is going to be Peru. The content type again is going to be publication. And the display type will be title, and then the term will be Peru. And I'll press save. And I'm going to do one more. We have 6 terms, but I'm just going to do one more because of time. And then we can talk about it and maybe add another one. And this one maybe will be Greece Pubs. And the title will be Greece. Again, the publication is the content type. We're going to change it to just show the title of the publication. And the term would be Greece. And now I'm going to press save. So remember, our goal is to create a tabs widget and display those 3 widgets we just created. So back to the add new widget area, and I am going to choose tabs widget. And I'm selecting this, and it's going to ask me to give a description. I'm going to be tabs for publications, and the widget title can be something like view publications by location. We have to give it a little bit of context for our visitors. So from here, now it's going to say which widgets do you want to add to this collection. Well, we're going to go and search for those 3 I just created. So here's the first one, all publications. So I'm selecting it and I'm pressing add. You see now it just got created and added here. Next I'm going to go down to Greece. I called it Greece. Publications. I'm adding it. And lastly, I'm going to go to Peru. I'm going to add it. And you'll see that these all have drag and drops with that little crosshairs, so you can just move them up and down. But I'm going to press save. And then we're going to be taken back out, and here we've got our widget, our tabs for pubs widget. And I'm going to click, hold, drag, and drop that right in the middle, because remember, this is page. This is a page, so I can go ahead and add it to the middle. And I'll press save. And I want you to see what happens. So it now is displaying, so you see I've got all of my publications listed here in this tab. I'm going to hop over to Greece, showing me my ones related to Greece, and then one for Peru. Does that make sense? So I'm adding, so I could go and add my 3 other list of post widgets to this tabs widget, and it would display in a different way than we see here. They're all the same content. It's just a different way to display it. And again, you've got some ability here. You don't have to actually use the title, so I don't like how this looks. So I might take out the title here. I'm going to cut it out, press save. But because this is a page itself, it comes with page content. So you see how this is page content, we're just not using it. I could technically go in here. Slowly go in here. Put my title from my widget in there. And maybe make it style just a little bit so I could bump up that title a little bit. But it's just a different way to display your content, which people seem to like. And you see how there's a repetitive nature of here. It says all and then all. Well, we can control that. We can go to the widget associated with this. This is the list of post widget, right? This is one list of post widget sitting inside the tabs widget. So we go to the list of post widget, opt to edit it, and remove the title. So you see that has a widget title. We want to remove it because now we've got two things that are telling us all, and we don't need that. So you can iterate on it. See, that looks much better. And it takes away that ugly space. And this is similar to, I've got one more example to show you, and then we'll move to open questions or whatever you want to do. But there we go. We see a change for Greece. There we go. Gary King has a site. And he's got a creative way he does publications as well. So he has something similar. So you see, instead of him doing it by, ours was location, he's just saying, I'm showing you, and his is a little differently styled, but this is a tabs widget basically. These are my papers, these are my books, this is my software, this is my presentation. But you can guarantee this is all coming from the actual publications area. You can never remove the publications area. If somebody knew this URL, they could get, even though we're not exposing it. It's an app that's driving all this content, so you can see that all of his stuff really lives here. Is that cool? So were we learning things? What do we think? Yeah, I mean, it can be, right? It's just a different way to allow your site visitors to find what they might be looking for. But you never want to create taxonomy around things that don't actually need to be categorized, right? Like, let's not categorize things for categorization's sake. It's allowing your visitors to really find what they need. There's lots of great examples of taxonomy. Around publications, you really have to figure out what is the most popular thing I'm writing about, or what is your faculty member want to expose about themselves, and you can drive it in a lot of different ways. They can still have their publications main page, they can just have sub areas if they want to, following on those term pages. All right, questions? Hit me. Do we like it? Yeah? So I think you could export and then import it. Yeah, I think that would work. No, there's not a reverse of that, but Dash isn't Dash Harvard? So technically, I guess you could reach out to Dash and say, could you provide us a file format that would work, and maybe they would reach out to our development team, and development team. It would be a cool thing to add to community, maybe. I mean, sorry, I wouldn't add it to community because they won't run down Dash and go, if you were to start the conversations and say, Dash is willing to do this if whatever, then that might be a good way to group them together. Yeah? You have a question? I feel like you have a question. Mm-hmm. Right, I think that's, so the question is that she's got her publications at another site. You want to make sure you can export it from their side, right? There's no pull. We can't just go, we're going to suck all this information into, we don't have that. It's a great idea, it's a great feature to have in the future, but we don't have it. So what you want to do is work with your university and say, I need you to export this information, and then you could do the import, thinking about the import file types that we reviewed here, right? So you could go back over this presentation and say, I need one of these file types, and they could export it, and then you could bring it in to OpenScholar. Okay, other questions? Any non-related publications questions? I'll just turn off the recording and we'll get to other stuff.